Hello, this is Kurt Wallner. In this chapter, we're going to start tackling the ground floor of the White House, the part of the White House that has undergone perhaps more changes than any other part of the building. For many years, the basement at the White House was where the kitchen was, as well as the quarters for the slaves and the free people who worked there. The earliest photo that I've found is this one of Kentucky-born Dolly Johnson, personal cook to President Benjamin Harrison, taken in 1890. She was hired as a replacement for an insufferable French chef whose food gave the president indigestion. Dolly's food suited him better. Efforts to improve conditions in the damp, cockroach-infested basement were ongoing, but it wasn't until the 1902 remodel that the ground floor was fit for public consumption. The whole thing was torn out during the Truman Reconstruction and rebuilt in 1952, and this is the ground floor that we see today. So let's all get started on the ground floor. Because there are some parts of the ground floor that are more interesting than others, and some are available to the public and not others, what I wanted to do was to take the eastern end of the ground floor and concentrate on it. And so this is what my little thumbnail sketch has shown up. Now that I look at my thumbnail, I can realize that I've left out something very important, which is that the rooms that are on the right side of the hallway are almost non-existent as opposed to the ones on the left side of the hallway, and this allows me to show more of the north portico and the flower shops and the garage and all that kind of stuff, which I don't have any photographs for. So I need to reimagine this a little bit, and that is where the grid pattern comes in. As I've covered in some of my other videos, or even a lot of my other videos, what I do in order to draw a complex shape in perspective is that I grid a floor plan of what I need to draw into squares, and then I draw that square as a cube in perspective, and then whatever needs to be in that cube gets drawn in perspective. It sounds kind of crazy, but that's the way I do it. So I draw the floor plan on the bottom of the cube, and then I draw the reflected floor plan, or the ceiling plan if you will, on the top of the cube, and then I extrude the walls in between, and then this gives me where all of the walls ought to be. The trouble is, with a subject this large and a grid this big, doing the top and the bottom grids together like that can get confusing. I'll show you what I mean. So I have my ground floor plan covered with 10-foot increment grids, and they are lettered this way, and then they are numbered going this way, so I can try and keep track of what everything is. And then there should be another grid that floats over this one 5 units above, about 12.5 feet above. That's the height of the first floor. So that yields a grid that looks like this. There's an additional wrinkle in all of this, is that this is the center hall, and then the rooms on one side of the wall and the rooms on the other side of the wall. And this is the bowling alley that actually shoots out into the north lawn, underneath the lawn. That's where that has to go. So you can see that this is a little confusing. Like this line right here is this number 43 on the bottom, or is it 43 on the top, or is this 45, or whatever. I began to find this all very confusing. What was the solution? Well, the solution was to draw one grid for the bottom, and on a separate sheet, draw another grid for the top, and then extrude the walls in between both of these things. So in this episode of Kurt's Wednesday afternoon drawing school, we try and trace the grid pattern for the lower part of the floor only. And then after that, the long process of sketching in the floor plan on the lower grid. It takes a while, but I get it done. Okay, let's see if I can remember how to do this. So this is the lower floor, and I've made another one of the upper floor at the top of the grid. Backlight that, and then put another piece of paper on top, and then we begin to draw the extrusion, the vertical lines between one and the other. And this is how you get the thing. This takes a lot longer than the fast motion footage makes it look like, but you get the general idea. And this just, you go on like this, and then eventually, once you've got the entire floor done, then you can figure out where to tear all of this stuff out. So that goes down there. There's a little cabinet there. So this is how I do it. Okay, with all of the first floor walls extruded, we can now begin to contemplate what parts of it that we want to take out, what parts to rip out in order to be able to show things that we want to show. And figuring out what parts to take out is usually just a matter of my drawing curved lines over the walls, kind of more or less where I want to stop them, and then I erase the walls, and there's an awful lot of readjustment that happens because things don't fit out, and the photographs of the rooms reveal different details than what the plans that I have been working from offer. But it generally ends up working out okay. I think that you can see from the complexity of all of this that why I've chosen to focus on so much of this process, because it's very complicated. I took the top grid and projected an image of the first floor plan, because I want to put some of the first floor rooms at the top of the drawing. And all of this, of course, is very crazy making. I'm going to cut it short and show you some of the rooms that how they turned out. The China room with its collection of China plates from White House history. A lot of proportion problems here, fitting everything in. The Vermeer room, which is kind of like a ladies' holding tank. It's before a women's restroom. The library, my favorite room in the White House. All of the books and so on are, well, they go in later. The books on the bookshelves go in later. And the diplomatic reception room with its curved walls and elaborate wallpaper that has to be drawn in later. So the whole project is very complicated, and there's a lot more rooms in this drawing than any of the others that I've done, and it's a hunk of work. So on our next chapter, we'll be coloring in this drawing, and I hope you can join us. If you're enjoying these videos, please subscribe to the channel if you would. Until the next time, thank you for your attention. Bye-bye.